Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to cover. Sony's PlayStation Portal has been one of those surprise hits that almost no one really saw coming, because when it first launched, many people were really skeptical. After all, it wasn't a traditional handheld like the PSP or the PlayStation Vita or even like the Nintendo Switch. It was more of an accessory designed to stream your PlayStation 5 games remotely, and you had to have a PlayStation 5 in order for you to really take full advantage of the PlayStation Portal. But despite the doubts and all the doubters, the PlayStation Portal has quietly become a major success story. Reports suggest that around 5% of PlayStation 5 owners just in the US have already bought a PS Portal. That's a surprisingly strong figure for what essentially is a companion device, and now it seems Sony could be gearing up to make the PlayStation Portal even more capable. Recently, screenshots began circulating online, reportedly from Reddit, showing store pages for upcoming games like Deliver at All Costs and The Outer Worlds 2, and what caught everyone's eye was a small line of text under the pre-order button, and it read, "Pre-order to stream and play instantly at release on PlayStation Portal or PS5 only with PlayStation Plus Premium." If this information is legitimate and accurate, it could mean a major change in how the PlayStation Portal operates. Right now, PlayStation Plus Premium members can already stream certain games directly to their PlayStation 5s or access a library of cloud streaming titles on the PlayStation Portal. But this new wording hints at something much bigger: the possibility of buying and instantly playing new releases directly on the PlayStation Portal with no PlayStation 5 required. That means potentially no console boot up, no downloads, just instant streaming straight from Sony's servers right to the PlayStation Portal itself. It's a bold new move, one that aligns perfectly with Sony's long-term interest in cloud gaming. Now, Sony isn't rushing into the cloud gaming space like many of its competitors. Instead, they're taking small incremental steps, deliberate steps, improving their streaming technology quietly but consistently. And it does make sense if the future, and I mean way into the future, but if the future of gaming really is streaming, Sony's positioning itself relatively well. They're not trying to replace consoles overnight. They're giving players more options, making it easier to play anywhere, and bit by bit over time, cloud streaming or cloud gaming is starting to take over. But it also does raise an interesting question. If cloud gaming becomes seamless enough, will the PlayStation Portal one day stand on its own as a true portable PlayStation? That's something we'll have to wait and see, but great news if you already have invested in the PS Portal. It seems like this is the gift that just keeps on giving right now. Okay guys, so let's move on and take a look at an incredible opportunity which nearly came to fruition. Hideo Kojima and The Matrix, the game that never was. So let's rewind back to the late 1990s, a golden age for gaming innovation and fantastic movies. Metal Gear Solid had just blown audiences away with its cinematic storytelling and stealth gameplay. Meanwhile, The Matrix hit theaters and changed science fiction forever. Now imagine if those two worlds had collided. According to Christopher Bergstrasser, a former vice president at Konami, that almost happened. In a recent interview, he revealed that the Wachowskis, who are the visionary directors behind The Matrix, were such huge fans of Metal Gear Solid that they reached out directly to Konami with an idea, and they wanted Hideo Kojima to make a Matrix video game. This was around 1999, right after the movie became a global phenomenon. The Wachowskis flew to Japan, visited Konami headquarters, and asked for a meeting with Hideo Kojima. They wanted him to adapt their universe into an interactive experience blending his cinematic vision with their groundbreaking science fiction world. But according to Bergstrasser, that dream meeting didn't go as they had hoped. The Wachowskis made their pitch. They told Kojima, "We really wanted you to do the Matrix game." Their enthusiasm was absolutely undeniable, but then Konami executive Kazumi Kitao reportedly turned them down on the spot with just a simple no. And the reason for this is because Kojima was already deep into development on Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, one of the most ambitious projects of its time. Years later, Kojima himself responded to the resurfaced story, saying he was surprised to learn such a conversation even took place. He says, "In all these 26 years, no one ever told me such a discussion had happened." He even confirmed that he had met with the Wachowskis several times and even attended The Matrix's Japanese premiere, but no formal offer was ever made to him directly. Still, he admitted something interesting though. Even if he had been asked, he probably couldn't have accepted right at that time. He was far too busy with Metal Gear Solid 2, but he did add that maybe there could have been a way to make it work. It's a fascinating what-if moment in gaming history. Imagine Kojima's storytelling fused with the Matrix world of simulated reality and philosophical depth. It's not hard to picture the synergy between the two, both obsessed with identity, technology, and the nature of control. Instead, the license of The Matrix eventually went to Shiny Entertainment, who developed Enter the Matrix in 2003 and The Path of Neo in 2005. Both were ambitious games, but neither really quite captured the magic that a Kojima-led vision might have delivered. Sometimes, history gives us these near misses, stories of what might have been, and this one remains one of the most intriguing in the history of video games. Anyway guys, let's move on. When we think of PlayStation's golden era, a few names always come to mind. Studios that defined the platform, that gave us characters and stories that we'll never forget, and amongst those studios, few stand taller than Naughty Dog. But imagine this, you're at the top of your game, you've just created Uncharted, one of the most beloved adventure franchises in gaming history, and you see that franchise through multiple versions of the game, and suddenly your studio decides to completely walk away from it, to take a risk, and to create something completely different, darker and far more serious. And that's exactly what happened here. And even with Sony, that decision caught a few people off guard. Former PlayStation executive Shuhei Yoshida recently opened up about this turning point during an interview with GameSpot. He goes on to say that when Naughty Dog announced it wanted to move on from Uncharted to work on a new project, one that would eventually become The Last of Us, he was surprised. Yoshida said it was surprising that Naughty Dog wanted to move on from Uncharted, but also that they were going to create something really mature. Now, when you think about it, it's not hard to see why. Uncharted was a massive success. It was cinematic, light-hearted, full of adventure and charm, like an Indiana Jones movie which you could play. It was the kind of game that appealed to almost every single person. But The Last of Us was a whole different beast. It wasn't just an action-adventure game. It was emotional, it was bleak, it tackled heavy themes like survival, morality, and loss. And for Yoshida, this was both exciting and of course, a little worrying too. He admitted that part of him was concerned that we may be going too niche by going so mature. And after all, when you go darker and more complex, you risk alienating some of your audience. And yet, that risk paid off in ways no one could have predicted. Naughty Dog's shift from Uncharted to The Last of Us wasn't just a change in tone, it was a complete redefinition of what a PlayStation exclusive could be. Uncharted was like a summer blockbuster. Big set pieces, witty banter, explosions, and globe-trotting adventure. It was fun, larger than life, and designed for a broad audience. But The Last of Us, that was something else entirely. It felt intimate, real. It focused on small, human moments, a conversation by campfire, a quiet moment of reflection after tragedy. It wasn't just about shooting or exploration, it was about emotion. At the time, no one knew if players even wanted that kind of experience. Games were often seen as pure entertainment, not vehicles for deep storytelling. But Naughty Dog changed that. And Yoshida, looking back now, recognizes how important that leap of faith was. He said that despite his early concerns, their craft produced such an amazing game that they established an IP even bigger than Uncharted. And think about that. The Last of Us not only succeeded, it surpassed Uncharted in cultural impact. It won countless awards, sold millions of copies, and even inspired a critically acclaimed HBO series. And that kind of success doesn't happen by accident. It happens because a studio believes in storytelling above all else, even when the path forward is not guaranteed. I, for one, cannot wait to see how they introduce us to the world of Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. What Naughty Dog did was very risky, but it's a reminder that the gaming industry thrives on risk, something which we just don't see enough of currently from some of the biggest gaming studios in the industry. It's too easy for a studio to stick with what works, to keep releasing sequels or remasters to proven franchises. But the truly great developers, they evolve over time. They experiment, they push their art forward, even when it might not make perfect sense or business sense at first glance. Naughty Dog's decision to move away from Uncharted shows what happens when creativity is allowed to lead. They didn't abandon adventure, they transformed it into another direction and another game. They traded exotic jungles for urban decay, treasure hunting for survival, and light humor for emotional depth. And the result wasn't just a great game. It was a story that connected with people on a deeply personal level. It's a reminder that games can make us feel something, they can challenge us, and that's a big part of why The Last of Us 1 and especially Part 2 still resonates today, years after its release. Today, Yoshida isn't just looking back, he's looking forward. He said he's so excited that they're working on a new IP again with Intergalactic. It seems Naughty Dog is once again ready to reinvent itself. Just like they move forward on from Crash Bandicoot to Jak and Daxter, and then from Uncharted to The Last of Us, and now they're preparing for something completely new. That's a cycle of great creativity, building, mastering, and then moving forward. And if history repeats itself, Intergalactic could be another turning point, another step in the studio's evolution, and you can sense Yoshida's genuine admiration for their courage to keep challenging themselves. And in his words, it's the craft, the willingness to go deeper, to make something meaningful that keeps PlayStation's legacy alive. So what do you think, guys? Was it a courageous move to move on from Uncharted to The Last of Us, and now again going from The Last of Us to Intergalactic? Or do you want to see them continue making more of Uncharted and The Last of Us games? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So let's move on to a stunning looking new PlayStation console exclusive game. Lowland, the Cursed Sand, looks like a hidden gem rising from China. This upcoming PlayStation 5 console exclusive is already turning heads for all the right reasons. It's been developed by Chili Moon Studios and supported by Sony's China Hero project. It's looking like it's going to be one of the most exciting action titles coming out of Asia. For fans of the old school God of War games, the ones from the PlayStation 2 and early PS3 era, this game will feel instantly familiar, but with a unique twist. You play as the Cursed Sand, a skeletal warrior and former royal guard who returns to a fallen kingdom in search of his lost princess. The story promises tragedy, war, and love, all wrapped in a world built from myth and sorrow. What sets Lowland apart is its gameplay and presentation. Now, it uses a top-down isometric camera, giving it a retro vibe while still feeling modern and cinematic. The protagonist can shift between bone and sand forms, each unlocking new abilities, combat styles, and puzzle-solving techniques. Combat looks fast and fluid, more like a dance of survival than a simple hack-and-slash game. The developers describe it as a mix of classic arcade action and emotional storytelling. What's even more interesting is who's behind the game. The team at Chili Moon Studios includes veterans who worked at Santa Monica Studio, From Software, and Platinum Games, three studios known for defining modern action gameplay. The game's director, Hongwen Hui, even worked as a gameplay programmer on God of War and God of War Ragnarok. That alone should tell you the kind of quality that they're aiming for. Hui described the project as a love letter to classic action games and said the team's goal is to merge nostalgia with innovation, to bring the lost kingdom of Lowland to life in a way that feels both old school and new. But there's still no release date for the game, but everything shown so far looks really incredible. Lowland, the Cursed Sand, could easily become one of those sleeper hits, a game that surprises people by just how good it turns out to be. And it's another reminder that Sony's China Hero project is paying off, bringing unique, ambitious games to a global audience. Okay, so this game is supposed to be a PlayStation 5 console exclusive, but we do know it's coming to PC. But the way the new Xbox hybrid machine has been described, it looks like this game will be playable on the next-gen Xbox machine. But here's an update on Xbox's next-gen direction. Microsoft has been talking a lot about its next-generation Xbox, and if the rumors are true, it's going to be a fascinating piece of hardware. According to reports, the new Xbox won't just be a console, it'll run Windows with a TV-friendly interface layered on top. And that means you could boot it up and play your Xbox games as usual, or switch over to Windows and access platforms like Steam, Battle.net, or even productivity apps like Microsoft Office. So with it being able to access Steam, if Sony releases PlayStation games onto Steam, it means you'll be able to play them directly on your new Xbox labeled machine, technically bringing PlayStation PC games straight to your new next generation Xbox platform. It's basically a gaming PC for your living room, but with the ease of use of a console. For players, this could be a dream come true. Imagine having access to your entire gaming library, Xbox titles, PC exclusives, even emulated classics, and PlayStation games all on a single device. And now, thanks to Microsoft's backward compatibility, this console is expected to support games from every previous Xbox generation. Microsoft's CEO Satya Nadella recently said the company's goal is simple: to bring games to every single platform possible. And after buying Activision Blizzard, Microsoft has become the world's biggest publisher, and they want their games to be everywhere: consoles, PC, mobile, the cloud, and even TVs. It's clear they're not chasing exclusivity anymore. Instead, they're building an ecosystem, one where it doesn't matter what device you're using, so long as you're playing or buying one of their games. However, that approach does come with some questions. If the new Xbox is basically a PC, What's the incentive for players to buy it over a custom-built rig? And how much will this premium hardware cost? Also, how are Microsoft going to make money when you can access Steam on the Xbox machine? So lots of questions, but no real answers just yet. Microsoft is walking a fine line between accessibility and profitability. Satya Nadella even admitted that. He goes on to say that the best way to innovate is to have good margins. In other words, don't expect this new console to be cheap. Now, it is a bold vision, one that could redefine what a console even means, but will it be enough to win over gamers in a world where attention is split between streaming, social media, and short-form content? And according to the Microsoft head honcho Satya Nadella, that's the real battle Xbox is fighting right now. Not against PlayStation, but against other short-form content like YouTube Shorts and TikTok. Well, I think I want more clarity before deciding on my views on where I stand about the next generation Xbox platform. Anyway, let's move on and turn our attention to Amazon, a company that's been trying for years to carve out a space in gaming with mixed results. Recently, internal reports reveal that Amazon is making significant cuts to its gaming division and stepping away from massively multiplayer online games. More than 14,000 corporate jobs are being eliminated, with heavy impacts on its San Diego and Irvine studios. And that's where many of Amazon's ambitious MMO projects were being developed. In a message to staff, executives admitted they were proud of what they've achieved, but said the company had made the difficult decision to halt most of its AAA MMO development. However, not everything is ending. Amazon's Montreal studio is still pushing ahead with a promising new game called March of Giants. Amazon is also still collaborating with external studios like Crystal Dynamics on the upcoming Tomb Raider reboot and Maverick Games on a new open-world driving title. But the shift away from MMOs marks a big change in their strategy. For years, Amazon hoped to compete with giants like Blizzard and Square Enix in the online RPG space. But creating a successful MMO is no small feat. It requires years and decades of development and know-how, massive budgets, and long-term player engagement. It seems Amazon is finally narrowing its focus, prioritizing on smaller projects, more targeted projects, and partnerships instead of sprawling, expensive experiments. It's a reminder that even the biggest tech companies can struggle to find their place in gaming's complex ecosystem. And while we're on the subject of big tech companies finding ways to succeed in the gaming industry, recently reports have surfaced suggesting that EA's management is pushing its employees to use AI tools for nearly everything. According to insiders, EA leadership has been encouraging developers, around 1,500 of them, to integrate AI into their daily work. That means using generative AI tools not just for code or concept art, but even for things like management advice and employee communications. Some of these AI tools can help generate rough assets quickly, but developers say the results often require heavy correction. And in some cases, flawed AI code generated obviously by the AI has actually slowed down production rather than speeding it up. There's also a growing fear that AI could eventually replace certain creative roles like character artists or level designers, as their work is increasingly used to train these models. Internal documents even show that EA expects some employees to complete AI training courses and use these tools daily, treating AI as a kind of thought partner. This push comes just as EA is reportedly being acquired by private investors in a massive $55 billion deal. It's clear that the company wants to appear forward-thinking, maybe even futuristic, but the balance between innovation and exploitation is tricky. CEO Andrew Wilson has long talked about the potential of AI to speed up production. And yes, AI can make development faster, but at what cost to creativity, to originality, and to the people behind the games that we love? It's a debate that's only going to get louder over the years ahead. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll catch you on the next video.